These are the one-hit wonders that define 90s country music. Artists who burned so bright with a single song that they seared themselves into the American consciousness, and then, for one reason or another, never quite reached those heights again. While Garth Brooks was breaking stadium attendance records and Brooks and Dunn dominated radio, these artists had their one perfect moment. Some of them you remember, some of them, I guarantee, you've completely forgotten. But every single one of them left a mark on the genre that is still visible today. Let's start with the big one, the obvious one, Billy Ray Cyrus, and the song that made $40 million in a single year and nearly tore Nashville apart in the process. In March of 1992, a mullet-wearing singer from Flatwoods, Kentucky named Billy Ray Cyrus released a song called Achy Breaky Heart. This song was not even originally his. Don Von Tress wrote it, and the Marcy Brothers first recorded it back in 1991 under the title Don't Tell My Heart. The Oak Ridge Boys actually planned to record it too, but lead singer Dwayne Allen backed out because he did not care for some of the lyrics. Their loss turned out to be one of the biggest losses in country music history, because when Billy Ray got his hands on that song and Mercury Records released it, it exploded. By May 30th, it launched a 5-week run at #1 on Billboard's Hot Country Songs chart. It crossed over to pop radio, peaking at #4 on the Billboard Hot 100. His debut album, Some Gave All, spent 17 consecutive weeks at #1 on the Billboard 200 and sold more than 20 million copies worldwide, making it the best-selling debut album of all time for a solo artist. In Australia, it became the first single ever to achieve triple platinum status. But here's the thing about Achy Breaky Heart. Nashville hated it. Travis Tritt famously called it frivolous. He said he did not want country music turned into a wiggling contest. Music Row was not worried about the song's content. There was nothing in it about drinking or cheating or swearing. What bothered them was its intentional simplicity. It was designed to be catchy and fun, and the establishment saw that as a threat. Meanwhile, line dancing clubs were popping up in small towns across America, and schools were literally adding the accompanying line dance to their physical education curriculums. Weird Al Yankovic even parodied the song on his album Alapalooza, begging a DJ to stop playing it. But Billy Ray had his defenders too. He once said, "Two of my heroes stepped up to the plate. If the boss was cool with it, and Johnny Cash was cool with it, it did not matter what anybody else said." And decades later, that same Billy Ray teamed up with Lil Nas X for Old Town Road, proving sometimes one-hit wonders get a second act. Kevin Sharp grew up in Redding, California, and survived Ewing sarcoma, a rare and brutal form of bone cancer, as a teenager. When his prognosis looked bleak, the Make-A-Wish Foundation granted him a wish, and he chose to meet record producer David Foster. That meeting changed everything. Foster became a friend and mentor to the aspiring musician, and eventually helped Sharp get signed to Asylum Records. In 1996, Kevin Sharp released Nobody Knows, and it sat at the top of the country charts for 4 weeks. It earned him a nomination from the Academy of Country Music for Top New Male Vocalist, but he never found that kind of success again. Tragically, Kevin Sharp died on April 19th, 2014, at just 43 years old, due to complications from past stomach surgeries. His story reminds us that sometimes a one-hit wonder is not about a lack of talent. Sometimes it is about the hand life deals you. Shifting to something a little more fun, David Lee Murphy from Herrin, Illinois wrote Dust on the Bottle in about 15 minutes. He later said it just came out of nowhere. The song just fell out. The song was inspired by a real person from his hometown, a colorful character named Creole Williams, who was a good friend of Murphy's cousin. On October 28, 1995, that 15-minute song hit #1 on the Billboard Hot Country Singles chart, and stayed there for 2 weeks. His debut album, Out With a Bang, became the best-selling album by a new male country artist that year and went platinum. And then, radio silence. It would be 23 years before David Lee Murphy topped the charts again as an artist with Everything's Gonna Be Alright in 2018. But here's what's incredible. In between, he quietly became one of Nashville's most successful songwriters, penning Jason Aldean's Big Green Tractor, Jake Owen's Anywhere With You, and Thompson Square's Are You Gonna Kiss Me or Not? Then there's Deana Carter, daughter of Nashville session legend Fred Carter Jr. She had nearly given up on music entirely when one of her demo tapes caught the ear of Willie Nelson, who invited her to perform at the 1994 Farm Aid concert. She was the only female solo performer on the bill. 2 years later, she released Strawberry Wine, written by Matraka Berg and Gary Harrison. Carter later said, "How did you write my life story? I wanted to record it because it was the only time I had ever heard something that I felt like I had lived it." That authenticity came through. Strawberry Wine hit #1 in November 1996, held the position for 2 weeks, and won CMA Song of the Year. Her debut album, Did I Shave My Legs for This?, went 5 times platinum, selling over 5 million copies. She never matched that peak, but in 2021, she released a 25th anniversary edition of Strawberry Wine featuring Martina McBride, Lauren Elena, Ashley McBride, and Vince Gill. Bob Carlisle was a Christian rock singer who never intended to record Butterfly Kisses. He wrote it with Randy Thomas as a gift for his daughter Brooke's 16th birthday. It was personal, private, never meant for public consumption. But the song found its way onto his 1997 album, and because it was never released as a standalone single in America, people had to buy the entire album just to own the song. The album went double platinum, hit #1 for 2 weeks, and the song won a Grammy for Best Country Song. Carlisle later reflected that the song isn't really about fatherhood, it's about gratitude and imperfection. "For all I've done wrong," he said, "I must have done something right." Rhett Akins, from Valdosta, Georgia, reached #1 with the song Don't Get Me Started in August of 1996. That song spent 21 weeks on the Billboard Hot Country Songs chart. He never hit the top spot again as a performer. As a songwriter, Rhett Akins has written 25 country airplay #1s, tied for the second most of all time. Here's where it gets really interesting. This supposed one-hit wonder built a country music dynasty. His son, Thomas Rhett, became one of modern country's biggest stars, proving that sometimes the real hit isn't the song, it's the legacy. Chad Brock had one of the more unusual paths to country music. Before picking up a guitar, he was a professional wrestler in World Championship Wrestling until an injury forced him to retire. His song Yes hit #1 in 2000, spending 3 weeks at the top. But as one critic noted, his material was safe and inoffensive, the kind of song that would not make you change the station, but would not inspire you to buy the album either. He faded from the charts. But in 2024, at 61 years old, Brock announced he was back in the studio. He told Pro Country Music that you can't quit. "God wasn't through with me," he said. "I'm 61 years old, and I'm in the best shape of my life." That's the thing about 90s country one-hit wonders. The label makes it sound like failure, like these artists came up short. But look at the full picture. David Lee Murphy became a hit-making songwriter. Rhett Akins built a dynasty through Thomas Rhett. Kevin Sharp's single song carried a story of survival that still moves people a decade after his passing. Billy Ray Cyrus eventually landed on the biggest song of 2019, Old Town Road, and won his first Grammy. These weren't failures. These were artists who each had one perfect moment, one song that caught lightning in a bottle, and that's more than most people ever get.